Have you ever had a light bulb moment about something that isn't working in your life, and you realize that with this little flash of insight, if you could implement a change, that everything would change for the better? Maybe you've been here, or you've read a book, or you've seen it in a movie, or you've heard a podcast, or somebody just says something to you off the cuff, or maybe you even read it on a bus, and you think, oh, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And have you noticed that sometimes the idea sticks? And sometimes the idea works, and you think, oh, this is brilliant. And then have you noticed that you revert anyway back to your old dance step, your old pattern? Well, if that's happened to you, I know it's happened to me, then welcome to the human race. Because I think it happens to all of us, that we get used to doing things in a certain way, and we get these insights, these little hints about how things might shift with just a tiny difference in our approach. And sometimes it seems so easy, and it would be so simple, and the results are so powerful, and yet we resist doing it. This is where Unity's fifth principle comes in. Last time I spoke about Unity's second principle, and the week before that I spoke about the first principle. We have 5. The first principle of Unity is that there is only one power. Call it anything you want. There's only one power. There's no God and the devil fighting each other for the souls of the dead. It's one power. And the second principle is that includes each of us, that there's no spot that God is not. The third principle is that if we are part of creative energy, then at times we are subject to things that are outside of our control. But there are times when we are able, with our own creative power, to shift the experience either of the people around us, and certainly of our own experience, to whatever is going on. So that third principle is what I think of as ideas lead to experiences. The fourth principle is that we, knowing that we are creative beings, and that our energy is always impacting our world, the people around us, and our own experience, then wouldn't it make sense that we are paying attention and being intentional about how we're using our energy? And so the fourth principle is take time to be still. Go into prayer. Go into meditation. Prayer, aligning your intention. Meditation, being open to insight. Noticing and being open. Getting off the rabbit wheel or the hamster wheel that keeps going round and round, and just taking time to notice. And the fifth principle is, it's not enough just to know it. You got to live it. And the challenge with living our principles is that sometimes when we do have these insights, we are faced with breaking the patterns that we've become so used to. And how do we do that? Well, if you recall, I created this happy birthday song, which I think now many of you know, to remind me of what the principles are. And they're sung to the tune of Happy Birthday. One universal power, a network of all. Ideas lead to experiences. Take time to be still, you'll live in peace. And then I thought, how do we do that? And the answer is, if we actually think of that song backwards. So I created another verse. If we think of this song backwards, we notice that we're not living in peace. First thing we do, take time to be still. Next thing we do, notice what we're thinking and see if there's a different way for us to approach whatever we're facing. So my second verse is, if peace isn't there, take time to be still and question your thinking. What other idea could add more peace? And I can't tell you how much that has helped me when I find myself on this hamster wheel / dance floor thing going round and round, spinning with my habitual patterns, and it's not a place that's fun to be. We want to practice and live the things that we say we believe. As Eliza Doolittle says in a song in My Fair Lady, don't say the words, show me. Have you noticed that principles are easy to apply when things are going well? I'm going to be more peaceful all the time until somebody cuts me off on the highway, or until I don't get the service that I expect quickly enough at the restaurant, or until my boss says something and I'm like, ugh, or a coworker says something and I'm like, ugh, or my kid, or my grandchild, or my parent. All of these ideas that we have about living in peace, living in joy, living in love, they're wonderful ideas until things happen. One of the best ways that I know to identify if we're actually living these principles is taken from what they consider the fruits of the Spirit. And this is found in the book of Galatians. It's from Paul's letter to the Galatians. And he talks about the fruits of the Spirit. So these are the things that he says that if we are living a life where our principle is actually our practice, then our life will be characterized with these 9 aspects. And they are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, also known as generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. I'm not sure why self-control has to be at the end, because I think it's just about one of the most important ones, but that's for another talk. But these 9 aspects of our experience of life, and if we're not feeling that we are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, generosity, faithfulness, and exhibiting self-control, then we are out of alignment with these natural fruits of the Spirit. And when things go wrong, well, let's look at those. It's pretty hard to love someone when they're yelling at us. It's pretty hard to feel joyful when things are too busy and feel overwhelming. It's pretty hard to remain peaceful in the face of someone who is insisting on war. It's certainly hard to be patient with someone who's just not getting it. It's hard to be kind. It's hard to be generous at times. And oh my goodness, there are times when we don't speak in a faithful way to people or about people. Even the people we love. Sometimes especially the people we love. And self-control, that makes really good sense when your heart is beating normally. It's out the window when your fight or flight response kicks in. And so our goal is to live these principles all the time. And my friend, Reverend Dr. Martha Creek, often says that our work begins when we leave the building. It's easy in here. It's more of a challenge out there. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing is to notice. So my song is when peace isn't there, but you can change that to when love isn't there, when joy isn't there, when patience isn't there, when generosity isn't there, when self-control isn't there. All of those, when they aren't there, take time to be still. Notice. Why? Why would we do that? Well, it's almost as if it breaks the dance step, or it breaks the pattern, or it stops the hamster wheel. Taking time to be still is the hardest thing to do when it feels as if all you must do is act. And yet, when we take time to be still, we allow our bodies to rest and reset. We allow our breath to come back. We allow our brain to relax and find our heart. Our intellect and our heart work together for wisdom. That's first. Take time to be still. Second, question your thinking. I heard this very recently and I thought it was so clever. And that is that judgment cannot be in the same energy as curiosity. That if you are curious, you cannot be in judgment. And I thought that was one of my ahas. So that was such a neat idea, that instead of judging, if I find myself in judgment, instead I can question. That's interesting. Tell me more. It may be to somebody out there. It may be to a part of yourself. What's going on? Why is this upsetting you? Time to be still resets, question your thinking. Choose curiosity over judgment. Here are some questions you might consider asking yourself. What story am I making up about this that I'm believing? What am I creating? Is there another thought that I could choose that would be more loving right here? What is just one more peaceful step that I can think or take or speak? I'll give you an example. I was at school at Unity Village, at seminary, and all of us students were quite overwhelmed with the workload and all these different assignments coming in and deadlines and things to do, and there's not enough time. And our instructor looked at us future ministers who were swirling around. And he said, "What if you made it easy?" And it was like the light bulb again. Because we were making up all of that stuff in our head. And we could just as easily have turned it around into, this is fun, this is easy, the work is going to get done, there's more than enough time. We know the work is going to get done, it gets done all the time. That was never a question. But it was breaking the pattern, and it was powerful beyond that particular instance, because it's remained with me to this day. What if you made it easy? Ideas lead to experiences. Question your thinking. What other idea could add more peace, or more patience, or more love, or more generosity? Third idea for you. Stay in your lane, your journey. Sometimes when people are on a path of awakening, they get very excited. And they want everybody else to get along and jump on board with them, and they get so frustrated when other people don't see things as clearly as they do. And the effect of that is really to turn people away and turn them off. Your responsibility is you. If other people are inspired because they see that your life is transforming, then that's for them to look at. You changing and living from a place of these 9 fruits of the Spirit will influence everything around you. That's all the change you need to make. The others will respond without your forcing them. There's a saying in the first book of Corinthians, which reads, "If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and I know all mysteries and all knowledge, and I have all faith so as to move mountains, but I do not have love, I am as sounding brass. I am as nothing," is another interpretation. The way I think of it is, oh my gosh, I know I have met some people who are so self-righteously spiritual that sometimes I just want to biff them. Sorry, I know that may have to come out of the recording. But haven't you noticed that sometimes people who are in this self-righteous, I'm on a spiritual path, you should be too. Sorry, Irene. I'm glad that you're laughing, actually. It's annoying at the very least. It's off-putting. It's also disrespectful. Your responsibility is you. And none of us is perfect. We're all on a journey of life. Somebody asked the other day, what's the difference between spiritual journey and a life journey? The answer is there isn't one. Everything is God. So whether you're down here and in a place of fear and anger, or if you're up here feeling love and joy and peace, it's all part of the spectrum of life. All we want to focus on is ourselves. And last thing I'll share with you, and that is aim to move in the direction rather than expecting perfection. Move in the direction of whatever you're looking to expand. Joy, love, patience, gentleness, self-control. Why do I say that? Because the name of this talk is not from principle to perfection. It is from principle to practice. Why do I use that word so deliberately? Because perfection is just a made-up thing. There are times when we're going to do everything just as we hoped we were going to do it. And there are other times where we're going to get ourselves thrown off course and we're going to miss the mark. And what is the next most loving thing we can do when we've missed the mark? Think of a little baby who's learning to walk. What do? They pick themselves up, they dust themselves off, they start all over again. There is no, oh, I'm such a silly baby for making that mistake. And we laugh, but we do it as adults all the time. Instead, what if we just, missed the mark that time, let's try again next time. You see how much more powerful and empowering that is than, oh, silly baby. Practice makes progress. Practice makes progress. And here is my favorite passage, and this is specifically for Chris, because she laughed when I read this, because it's one of the most confusing things that I've ever read in the scripture. And it is from the book of Romans. It was written about 25 years or so after Jesus died. And if you hear the word sin, think of it as missing the mark. So just like I said, when we miss the mark. Kind of like when you aim at a bullseye and you don't quite hit it. That's also called missing. And when you hear the word members, think of it as our parts of ourselves, the voices in our head, if you will, our words, our behaviors, and so on. So here it is. From Romans chapter 7. For I do not do the good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I do. Now, if I do what I do not want, it is no longer I that do it, but sin, missing the mark, that dwells within me. I delight in the law of God in my inmost self, but I see in my members, think the words and so on, another law at work, with the law of my mind making me captive to the law of sin that dwells in my members. So then with my mind I am a slave to the law of God, but with my flesh I am slave to the law of sin. I do not do the good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I do. Does that apply to any of us? Yes. So, this is not something that's just new for the 21st century. This has been around as long as we have been around. So let's be kind and gentle and patient and loving with ourselves as we practice principles. So I'll wrap up with this. The next time you have a light bulb moment, a flash of insight, I encourage you to embrace the possibility that this insight that you have can improve and enrich your life. So focus on it. It'll be worth it. When peace isn't there, notice it. When love isn't there, notice it. When joy isn't there, notice it. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. If they are not there, notice it. And then take time to be still. Cultivate curiosity rather than choosing judgment. Focus on your journey. We've all missed the mark at times. And aim for direction, not perfection. Practice makes progress. We have the power to influence our environment. Let's use our energy wisely. Move in the direction of calm and contentment and connection. And know that the insight is for you to cultivate when you walk out the door. Put your principles into practice. Be kind to yourself. It's worth the journey. I bless you.